Thanks, everyone, and welcome. I'm Donald Payseur, along with my co host, Michael Burdette. We wanted to thank you for joining us today, and the purpose of this podcast is to have an open and honest conversation about a very serious issue facing our community. Liberty County is proposing the construction of a wastewater treatment plant with plans to discharge up to 3 million gallons of treated effluent per day into the Laurel View River ecosystem. This is an issue that has sparked deep concern among residents, property owners, environmental advocates, fishermen, families, and many others who care about the future of our waterways. Our goal with this podcast is simple. We just want to bring awareness and bring the facts to the front. So having said that, I'd like to introduce my co-host, and his name's Michael Burdette. Welcome aboard, Michael.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate you asking me to join you today to talk about our local environment.
Well, I tell you what, we've got a lot to talk about. How did you hear about how this was all taking place? What was going down?
Well, I guess since I retired, I started following more of Liberty County's, for lack of a better word, political meetings that they're having, whether it be county commission meetings, zoning board meetings, or what have you. And I ran across this actually on Facebook, on Liberty County Development Authority's Facebook site, I guess back in February, where they were proposing this. And I saw it and I read it and I reread it and I read it a third time. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. They want to dump effluent from a wastewater treatment plant into a saltwater estuary. And not only a saltwater estuary, it's a saltwater estuary that I grew up on.
But let me ask you a question. So before we get going any farther, would you tell me a little bit about your background? I'm interested in your the years you were doing bio treatment, and I'd like to hear about that.
Well, it's not the biggest part of my career. I started out working for my dad back in high school. He ran the local cable TV company. It's interesting since you deal in broadband now.
Yeah, that is.
But after I moved out on my own, and I did move to Savannah for a short term, I started working for a company, and we made specialty FCC additives for the refining industry. And I worked in research and development, and I did that for about 10 or 11 years. And then I did a short stint with a company that did bioremediation. Basically, we went around to wastewater treatment ponds at paper mills, and we introduced anaerobic microbes to the water at certain stages of their life in order to reduce the sludge in the wastewater treatment ponds. And then I finished my career as a regional director over two companies spanning from Arkansas to Virginia.
Okay, so you've seen a lot about remediation and what kind of damage we can do to our environment. You know, one thing about when I lived up in Lake Norman, we had a coal ash problem on the lake, and the neighborhood next to me, literally a half mile down the road, at one time, there were 14 active cases of thyroid cancer. And there were pockets of cancer all over the Lake Norman area. And the problem was coal ash was running off into the Lake Norman, and the power company for years said, oh, it's contained. There's nothing, the water's good to drink. Here, swim in it, shower in it.
Right.
But it turned out that it was such a bad situation that the EPA literally criminally charged the power company with criminal negligence, and it was a very big case. So I can see what contaminated water does to the community, and I just don't want to see that here. And that's why when they asked me to step up and step in, I gladly did it. And I can see that's because of your background. That's obviously your case too.
Well, like I said, when I saw that on the social media where they posted that, it was like, I can't believe they're going to put this much treated water into a pristine saltwater estuary.
So, what is your main concern about? Let's say we wake up tomorrow and there's 3 million gallons dumping in the Laurel View tomorrow. What is your concern? What is the community's concern?
Tomorrow is not my concern. My concern is 20 to 25 to 30 years from now, where they're proposing to dump this effluent into uh, the river goes from about 15, 16 foot deep into a 45-foot hole, essentially,
Okay.
along Laurel View Bluff. And it travels the length of the bluff, and then it comes back up in about 15 foot of water. It's there's multiple concerns. It's not a major concern, but there's multiple concerns. Short term would be dumping a treated effluent into a saltwater estuary. Um, there's been no studies that can tell us what it's going to do to the environment if they start. I know it starts at 500,000 gallons, but it's up to 3 million gallons, and then
Yeah.
who knows from
Let
there.
me ask you a quick question, though, before we
Sure.
go farther. It's interesting with your background in all of this. What have you seen in the water before? What does contaminated water look like to you?
Contaminated water can look like anything. It can look like a clear stream, but
Okay.
that doesn't mean that it's safe for the environment. And the biggest, I guess, the long term effects, or what can make this a legacy problem for the LCDA, is the forever chemicals, the heavy metals, the things like that that'll get dumped into this hole. They're going to
Mhm.
settle right there in this hole.
Mhm.
They're not going to
So
go up and down the river. They're going to be right there in that environment.
right. Well, so moving forward with the dumping of up to 3 million gallons a day into the river, what are what are the alternatives? What can we do as a community? What can LCDA do? Where can we go with all this?
Well, look, I know development's inevitable.
Right.
It's going to happen. It needs to be a responsible development. They don't need to come in and say, "Oh, look, we're going to build this big wastewater treatment facility. We're going to go dump in this river. We got all that taken care of so that we can bring any industry or any housing areas into this area." Um, the alternatives to me is to look at the same area that Interstate Paper was dumping up to 9 million gallons of water in a day. You know,
Okay. And
uh,
what
um,
was in that water? Do you have any recollection?
um,
Heavy metals?
I'm sure there's heavy metals in it. I mean, in the past when I was doing wastewater treatment, not wastewater treatment, but
Yeah,
bioremediation,
right.
we would have instances where the mills would come to us and say, "Hey, we've got to stop this process. You're doing too good eating the sludge out of our ponds, and you're exposing the mercury and the PCBs that are in the lower levels that we've had in here for years." These are 20, 25, 30-year-old plants. Um, and the paper mills in Riceboro, they had these treatment ponds. They had to treat the effluent. They had to go through these chain of ponds before they were allowed to discharge it.
Okay.
Basically all they're going to look at is BOD, COD, and what the pH of the water is. And to be frank, anybody can change the pH of water and say, "Oh, it's neutral. We can dump it."
Mhm.
When in fact, you have to look at other elements of what's going on within the water, not just the fact that you got pH right or you have a BOD or COD right.
Okay, that's interesting. Let me stop you there and let's back up. I want to reiterate what you just said. So you're basically saying anybody at any time can change the pH balance and
Oh,
say it's
sure,
acceptable water.
sure. If
Okay.
you're looking at pH alone,
Mhm. Mhm.
abs- I can take Clorox and add acid to it, enough
Uh-huh.
acid to it until you get to a neutral pH, or vice versa. But again, it's not just getting the water into correct pH level. You got to look at everything else that's going on in there as well. Solids content, the biological oxygen demand, the COD. You have to look at it's not just one thing; it's multiple things.
Mhm. What are your concerns about the environment, about our fish, the dolphins population, the crabbing, oysters?
the problem is we don't know what the total effects will be. Again, that's something that's going to happen over 20 or 30 years. It's not going to be overnight. You won't see any change overnight if this happens.
Okay.
They're basically wanting to hide it to where they pump it down 40 feet in the river so no one ever sees it. It's out of mind, out of sight.
Hmm.
That's basically how this works. But over time, in an environment, that is strictly a saltwater estuary. I mean, you can go all the way up to 17, just about follow the Jericho River, all the way up past Lake George, past the cement and the wooden trestles. It's salt water. There's basically swamp runoff that comes into this river once you get up to about Highway 17. If you follow the map, you can see where the river leads. Um, a saltwater environment that you introduce fresh water to, um, I just don't know.
Yeah.
And that's just it. There is no study to tell us what's going to happen.
Got it.
They said, oh, there's a study from 2005 or six. And, we got some guy that says he's, been with the governor and did projects for the governor, that's self-proclaimed and doing, water studies. The first thing is, they're saying it's a brackish river. That water is not brackish. It
Right.
is not brackish.
It's
Uh,
highly saline.
Correct. I mean, the Savannah River, you followed up to a certain point, it gets brackish and then it gets
Okay.
fresh. The Agiti River comes out of our intercoastal waterway. You follow it up a certain point, it's salt, then it gets brackish and then it gets fresh the further up you go. The Jericho River and the Midway River, they have no freshwater influence. They are salt water. It ebbs and flows. Every 6 hours, the water moves one way or the other. It
So
doesn't
that's a
wash.
good point. So
It
it
doesn't
acts sort
wash
of
it.
like a washing machine, doesn't it?
Yes, it
Kind of
keeps
just
the
never
water
gets out to
basically.
the ocean.
Well, there's a certain amount going to make it out to the ocean, but it's not like it's a continuous flow to the ocean.
I heard at one case 21 to 28 days for the water to actually make it out. And that's a lot of dilution, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you always hear the topic, dilution is the solution to pollution, and it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. That makes good sense. You know, Michael, some of my concerns are the deeper I get involved with the Save the Laurel View River organization, the more I do research, and I see that the state of Georgia and maybe, yeah, definitely up in the low country of South Carolina, there is a real contamination problem. It looks like right now as we speak, there are dozens of, instances where the water's polluted. I was reading about the Chattahoochee River, and I can't get over the fact that there's 20 miles of devastating loss of our fish and wildlife.
Fish kills for 20 miles on that particular river itself, and the problem with rivers like that is the water washes one way. So unless you can figure out how to remediate that water until it, and I hate to say, dilutes
Mhm.
as much as it needs to, the fish kill will continue. Um, I posted on the page, I think last week, the amount of spills that had happened just during April and May in the state of
Yeah.
Georgia. And it was a full spreadsheet just from April and May alone.
Wow. I mean, it just seems like as a as a country, as a state, as a community, it just seems like we're killing off our environment, and
It's
it
all
just
in the name of industry and development.
yeah. And
And
Michael,
again,
I'm
I'm
like,
not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to industry and
neither am
development.
I.
We have to
I'm
have it.
all for it, but it's got to be done responsible,
It
you know.
does.
So, what do we as a community want to tell Liberty County and the LCDA? What do we want to say to them? And I always like to say, keep it professional, keep your dignity, but calm. What do we say to Liberty County?
Well, I think first and foremost, some folks need to live within their budgets. We all have to do that.
Right,
We all have a certain amount of money coming in, and we know that we can't go out and buy brand new cars and brand new homes and brand new, toys of any kind if we can't
right.
afford them.
Yeah.
To me, I would say that we need to back up.
Go down.
Definitely slow down. I'm not saying I'm against this. I'm not saying I'm against developing or bringing some industry in, but you have to do it at a growth that you can keep up with. And
Hmm.
you need to actually provide the infrastructure before you just say, "Oh, here's all this open space. Y'all come on." I also think we need to look at um, basing the more growth over at Trade Park West. Trade Park
Hmm.
West would be the place, in my opinion, that they need to build this, and then they can pipe down to where SNF and Interstate discharge. I know they're not the same discharge, but
Right.
the discharge in the same body of water that they're currently
Right.
discharging in now.
And that's not the same type of water as what we have over here at Laurel View. Is that right?
Oh no, it's not a saltwater estuary.
Okay.
It
So it's
well,
more fresh water.
it has more influence from county runoff from the county drainage dishes and what have you that go that way. K Creek, Peacock Creek, all that drains the county. It basically keeps the county dry.
Got it. Got it. So I have two concerns. Okay. Number one is the amount of houses they're wanting to build on the east side of I-95. Okay. I heard somewhere around 5,500 homes on quarter acre lots. Okay, and I'm for building, and I'm for moving our, economy and our county and our community forward, but it seems like 5,500 homes in a tight area like this is a cause for concern.
But one only has to look at Richmond Hill and what's going on in Richmond Hill, the amount of development that's going on up there right now.
Got it.
But again, they have the infrastructure in place.
Right, right.
They have planned. Um, I don't know if there's that many lots. I'm sure there is. I mean, if you cut things up into small enough lots, you can.
Oh, you can stuff them in there, sure.
Yeah,
But
but
my other concern.
I've got a neighbor that bought half acre of land, and
Mhm.
he's told that he can't put a septic system and a water well on a half acre of land. Well, heck, all the other houses around here are less
Right.
than a half acre, or at least in where I'm at, are less than a half acre of land. So I'm wondering if this is all to appease a developer, that's coming in and saying, "Hey, I want to put this many homes in. But you got a rule saying I can't do this. How are we going to get around this?"
Right.
Um, Again, it goes back to what, I hate to say it, but developers and politicians want.
Yeah. Yeah. The other concern that I've got is the fact that by putting all of this congestion in without any infrastructure, having all this potential pollution, runoff, and everything, I agree with you. I think they ought to, if we're going to have to build a treatment plant or expand a treatment plant, let's pump it to where it's got the least impact on our community and our environment, which I agree with you is up by Riceboro on the river up there.
Tell me this, if they're going to put that many homes into that particular area, why would anybody want to buy property where they're dumping sewage treatment into the water?
That's a big question. That's the other question.
But you put it in before it's developed.
Right. That's exactly right. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to wrap this up for today. I did bring some nice, yummy drinking water, and I wanted to give a salute to clean water. But I tell you what, you take the first sip, okay?
No, you do it.
Okay. Okay, Michael, thank you so much. And to everyone, thank you for taking a moment to listen to our concerns. There'll be more podcasts, there'll be more concerns coming out. This is just the start of something new. So, on behalf of Michael Burdette and myself, Don Payseur, have a great day.
Thank you, Don.
All right.